July 20th, 1944. 1 o'clock in the afternoon. A bomb explodes inside the Wolf's Lair headquarters. Wooden beams shatter. Glass shards fly through the air. Thick black smoke fills the briefing room. Adolf Hitler survives 3 hours later. The Fuhrer stands on a railway platform. He wears a dark cloak to hide his singed uniform. His right arm hangs limp. His face is scratched. Despite the blast, he does not cancel his appointments. He meets Benito Mussolini. The two dictators walk through the wreckage of the barracks. Hitler points to the debris. He speaks of providence and destiny. He wants the world to see a man who cannot be killed. But behind the scenes, the facade vanishes. Hitler is shaking with rage. He issues a direct command to the Gestapo and the SS. The order is simple: find everyone involved. It becomes the most brutal manhunt in German history. No evidence is too small, no rank is too high. Thousands of arrests begin before the sun sets. One name sits at the top of the list: Erich Hoepner. He is a decorated Colonel General. He previously commanded the 4th Panzer Group. He led hundreds of thousands of men across the plains of Russia. He was a master of armored warfare, but to Hitler, he is now a traitor. The conflict did not start with the bomb. It began years earlier on the Eastern Front. In the winter of 1941, the German army froze outside Moscow. The temperature dropped to 40 degrees below zero. Engines cracked. Soldiers died in their sleep. Hoepner saw the disaster coming. He requested a tactical withdrawal to save his remaining divisions. Hitler refused. He demanded every soldier stand and die where they fought. Hoepner looked at the maps. He looked at his dying men. He chose his troops over his commander. He ordered the retreat without permission. The reaction was instant. Hitler stripped Hoepner of his rank. He took away his medals. He forbade him from wearing his uniform. The general was sent into internal exile, watched by spies. He was a man with a target on his back long before 1944. The failed assassination gave the regime the excuse it needed. On the night of the coup, Hoepner arrived at the Bendler block in Berlin. He wore his old uniform. He prepared to take command of the Home Army, but the conspirators hesitated. The plan stalled. By midnight, the SS arrived. The footage from the later trials shows the result. Hoepner stands before the People's Court. He is gaunt. He has no belt to hold up his trousers. He faces the screaming judge Roland Freisler. There is no defense allowed, only the sentence. The execution took place at Plötzensee prison. They used thin wire instead of rope. It was a slow death. Hitler had the entire process filmed so he could watch it later in his private cinema. The general's story ended in the dark. September 14th, 1886. Erich Hoepner was born in Frankfurt an der Oder, a border city between Germany and Poland. 4 years later, his family moved to the center of power. They settled in Berlin. Young Erich did not go to an ordinary school. He attended the Kaiserin Augusta Gymnasium. This was an elite institution. It was built for the sons of Germany's highest educated class. In 1910, Hoepner made a strategic move in his personal life. He married Irma Gebauer. She was the daughter of a wealthy industrial manufacturer. The marriage brought status and money. The couple had 2 children. At the time, they were a picture of Prussian success. No one knew these children would later pay a devastating price for their father's future actions. Hoepner focused on the military ladder. In 1913, he enrolled in the Prussian War College in Berlin. It was the most prestigious military academy in the entire German Empire. Only the best officers gained entry. Then, the world changed. July 28, 1914. The First World War erupted. Hoepner was sent to the Western Front. He was a company commander. He did not sit in the rear. He led men into the trenches. He moved fast. He earned a promotion to captain of cavalry. The sound of artillery became his daily reality. By November 11, 1918, the war ended. The guns went silent. Hoepner returned home with 2 medals pinned to his chest. He held the Iron Cross First Class and Second Class. These were the highest symbols of service in a war that killed millions. The German Empire collapsed. The Weimar Republic emerged from the ruins of defeat. Most soldiers were sent home, but Hoepner stayed. The Treaty of Versailles changed everything. It stripped the German military down. The new Reichswehr was limited to only 100,000 men. It was a skeleton force. But for Hoepner, this was an opportunity. A smaller army meant less competition for high-ranking spots. He remained in the service, he waited, he climbed. By 1933, the political landscape shifted violently. Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party seized absolute power. The restriction on the military was about to vanish. Germany began to rearm. Hoepner was ready. He was no longer just a cavalry captain. He was a rising star in a machine built for a new kind of war. Thus began his descent into the inner circle of the Third Reich. 1936, Erich Hoepner reached the rank of General Major. 2 years later, he took command of the 1st Light Division. This was one of the early armored units. It would soon evolve into a panzer force that terrorized the European continent. Early 1938, political earthquakes shook the German military hierarchy. War Minister Werner von Blomberg was forced out. The reason was a scandal involving his marriage to a woman with a criminal past. His credibility vanished instantly. Days later, another blow struck. Army Commander-in-Chief Werner von Fritsch resigned. The Nazi regime manufactured false charges of homosexuality against him. It was a targeted character assassination. Hitler exploited the chaos. He removed experienced commanders and installed loyalists. These men prioritized the Nazi Party over military judgment. Hitler seized direct control of the armed forces. Every remaining check on his power was gone. Hoepner watched these events with growing alarm. He saw political loyalty replacing professional competence. The shift was visible in every staff meeting and every new appointment. The Sudetenland crisis erupted. Hitler threatened war with Czechoslovakia to seize ethnic German regions. Hoepner joined the Oster conspiracy. This was a secret plot to overthrow the dictator. Why did the generals turn? They believed Hitler was driving Germany toward a war it could not win. The conspirators were high-ranking conservatives led by General Major Hans Oster. They prepared for a coup. Hoepner's role was critical. He had to lead the 1st Light Division toward Berlin. His mission was to seize key government locations and neutralize SS forces in the capital. The sound of tank treads on Berlin pavement was supposed to be the signal. But the plan collapsed. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain and French Premier Édouard Daladier chose appeasement. They signed the Munich Agreement. Hitler achieved his goals without a single shot. There was no longer a reason to strike. The conspirators burned their documents and returned to their barracks. The opportunity had passed. September 30th, 1938. This date destroyed the German resistance from within. By signing the Munich Agreement, Britain and France handed Hitler the Sudetenland on a silver platter. There was no resistance and no shots were fired. For the military conspirators in Berlin, the justification for a coup vanished instantly. Hitler looked like a diplomatic genius. In March 1939, Hoepner moved his panzer forces into Czech territory. The occupation was swift and mechanical. 1 month later, the regime rewarded him. He received a promotion to General of Cavalry. He was now a high-ranking piece in the German war machine. September 1st, 1939. The world changed. Nazi Germany launched a full-scale invasion of Poland, sparking the Second World War. Before the first shells fell, Hoepner addressed his troops. His orders were cold and direct. He told his men the mission required the merciless annihilation of the enemy. There was no room for hesitation. The invasion moved at a frantic pace. Hoepner's 16th Army Corps tore through the Polish countryside. In 7 days, they covered 230 kilometers. By the end of the week, they reached the outskirts of Warsaw as part of the 10th Army. In October, the High Command recognized his effectiveness. He received the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. The medal pinned to his chest represented the destruction he had led. May 10, 1940. The focus shifted west. Germany invaded France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. These nations collapsed in just 6 weeks during the Battle of France. It was a blitzkrieg. Hoepner's corps joined the 6th Army, spearheading the assaults on Liège, Dunkirk, and Dijon. In May, a new element entered the chain of command. The SS Division Totenkopf was assigned to Hoepner's 16th Corps. The name translated to Death's Head. This was an elite Waffen-SS unit composed of concentration camp guards. Tension began to build immediately between the professional soldiers and the ideologues. The Totenkopf division would soon become synonymous with war crimes and extreme brutality. As the Battle of Dunkirk unfolded, the first reports reached Hoepner's desk. These were not reports of combat victories. They were reports of SS troops committing atrocities against prisoners. At first glance, a standard military operation, but in reality, a descent into systematic murder. Hoepner read the files. The sound of artillery continued in the distance. Events were now accelerating beyond his control. The era of traditional warfare was over. May 24, 1940. On this day, Erich Hoepner issued a direct order. The command was absolute. Any soldier caught mistreating prisoners would face an immediate court-martial. He wanted discipline maintained within the ranks. 3 days later, the order was ignored. Soldiers from the SS Totenkopf division executed nearly 100 surrendered British prisoners. This took place near the village of Le Paradis. It became known as the Le Paradis Massacre. The soldiers used machine guns to mow down the captives. Those who survived the initial fire were finished off with bayonets. Hoepner reacted immediately. When he learned of the killings, he demanded a formal investigation. He did not stop there. He called for the dismissal of the SS division commander, Theodor Eicke. Hoepner made his position clear. If the allegations were true, Eicke had to go. Eicke did not back down. He went directly to SS Chief Heinrich Himmler. He defended his actions with a specific claim. He argued that British forces had used illegal dum-dum bullets. These expanding rounds caused massive irregular wounds. Eicke claimed his men were retaliating for war crimes. The evidence told a different story. But Eicke and his division faced zero consequences. The investigation stopped. The matter was buried deep within the military bureaucracy. Hoepner never joined the Nazi Party. His hatred for Eicke grew. He openly labeled Eicke a butcher. He cited Eicke's reckless disregard for human life and his lack of military professionalism. His contempt for the Waffen-SS deepened into a permanent grudge. France fell. In July 1940, the High Command promoted Hoepner to Colonel General. The promotion came with new responsibilities. The German High Command began drafting plans for Operation Barbarossa. This was the code name for the invasion of the Soviet Union. Hoepner received a massive assignment. He was chosen to lead the 4th Panzer Group. His objective was Leningrad. He would operate as part of Army Group North under the command of Field Marshal Wilhelm von Lieb. In May 1941, Hoepner's tone shifted. He issued a chilling directive to his troops. The document was typed and distributed to every unit. The text was clear. The war against Russia was an essential phase in the existential struggle of the German people. It was described as the age-old conflict of Germanic peoples against Slavs. Hoepner called it the defense of European culture against a Muscovite Asian flood. He demanded the repulsion of Jewish Bolshevism. The directive ended with a specific instruction. This fight must aim at the destruction of present-day Russia. It must be conducted with unprecedented harshness. Every combat action was now a war of annihilation. June 22, 1941, 3 in the morning. On this Sunday, the German war machine launched Operation Barbarossa. It was not a standard invasion. High Command issued orders for the merciless total annihilation of the enemy. 3 million German soldiers moved at once. They were joined by Finnish, Romanian, Hungarian, Italian, Slovak, and Croatian divisions. This massive force crashed into Soviet territory along a front thousands of miles long. The collapse was immediate. Within weeks, German divisions captured Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. General Hoepner led the 4th Panzer Group. His tanks were the tip of the spear in the Baltic states. The objective was clear: Leningrad. The campaign started with rapid breakthroughs. German engineers secured critical bridges over the Dvina River in northern Latvia. The way to the north stood open. July 1941. Hoepner issued a specific directive to his troops. He told them to treat loyal civilians fairly. But there was a condition. Any acts of sabotage were to be blamed on communists and Jews. This was a signal. Like every other German unit on the Eastern Front, the 4th Panzer Group followed the Commissar order. This command required the immediate execution of all captured Red Army political officers. It was a direct violation of international law. The killings were systematic. Between July 2nd and July 8th, the 4th Panzer Group executed 101 Red Army commissars. By July 19th, the reported number of executions rose to 172. These were not combat deaths. These were cold-blooded liquidations. The records show the numbers grew every day. By late July, the situation tightened. Hoepner's tanks were positioned south and east of Narva, Estonia. They were in striking distance of Leningrad. But a problem emerged. The 4th Panzer Group lacked the strength for a final decisive victory. The lines were stretched thin. The momentum began to stall. August 29th, 1941. Field Marshal von Lieb intervened. He did not order a storm of the city. Instead, he ordered a blockade. The German command expected the Soviet defenders to abandon the city under pressure. They waited for a surrender that did not come. In late September, the tide shifted. The Soviet army launched a massive counterattack against Hoepner and his 4th Panzer Group. The German advance stopped. The war of movement turned into a war of attrition. 1941. The 4th Panzer Group shifts to Army Group Center. The objective, Moscow. General Erich Hoepner prepares for Operation Typhoon. At first, the German machine works. By early October, Hoepner's tanks encircle Vyazma. Soviet supply lines are severed. Communications are dead. Moscow's defense begins to crumble, but victory creates friction. Field Marshal von Kluge orders a halt. He wants to consolidate. Hoepner is furious. He believes a pause is a mistake. He argues that his units can destroy the pocket and take the capital simultaneously. He wants to maintain the pressure. He wants to keep the momentum. October 7th. The first snow falls. Within hours, the white powder turns into thick, freezing mud. German tanks lose their grip. Armored columns slide off the roads. The Soviet army uses the delay to retreat. They regroup. They wait. The Vyazma pocket falls on October 14th. But the weather is now a weapon. Heavy rains trigger the Rasputitsa. This is the season of mud. Roads become swamps. Engines seize, parts break. Hoepner pushes within 30 kilometers of the Kremlin. He can see the spires, but the force is spent. Battles and frost have bled the divisions dry. Soviet resistance stiffens. Supplies do not arrive. On December 5th, the momentum stops. Hoepner looks at the grim reports from the front. Moscow is out of reach. He cancels the attack. That same day, the Red Army strikes. It is a massive counteroffensive. The German lines stretch to the breaking point. By January 1942, the situation is critical. Hoepner asks Kluge for permission to withdraw. He wants to save his men. Hitler has issued a stand-fast order, no retreat. Kluge tells Hoepner to prepare for a move anyway. He promises to talk to the Fuhrer. Hoepner does not wait for the paperwork. He wants to avoid more casualties. On January 8th, he orders the retreat. Kluge panics. He informs Hitler immediately to protect himself. The Führer's reaction is instant. Hoepner stands his ground. He tells von Kluge that his duty to his soldiers is higher than his duty to the Führer. Hitler strips him of everything. Rank, medals, pension. He is dismissed for cowardice. It is a violation of military law. Hoepner fights back in court. Surprisingly, he wins. The judges reinstate his pension. At this time, Hitler cannot yet fire judges at will. June 6, 1944, Operation Overlord begins. Allied boots hit the sand in Normandy. The second front is open. Inside Germany, the high command is divided. Many officers see the end coming. They realize Hitler is leading them into a grave. July 20, 1944. Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg enters the Wolf's Lair. He carries a briefcase. Inside is a bomb. He places it under a heavy oak table and leaves. A fluke saves the dictator. An officer moves the briefcase behind a thick wooden leg. The blast is massive, but Hitler survives with minor injuries. In Berlin, the conspirators are in the dark. Communication lines are cut. Operation Valkyrie begins. The reserve army moves. But confusion takes over. Orders are contradicted. The radio broadcasts the truth. Hitler is alive. The coup collapses in hours. A massive manhunt begins. The Gestapo moves fast. Hoepner was supposed to be the new commander-in-chief. They arrest him at home on July 21st. The footage shows the aftermath. Hoepner is tortured in a basement. He is offered a pistol to end his own life. He refuses. He demands a trial. He is brought before the People's Court. Judge Roland Freisler is waiting. The scene is humiliation. Hoepner is denied his false teeth. He wears oversized, tattered clothes. Freisler screams insults from the bench. The Nazi Sippenhaft law is triggered. Collective punishment. Hoepner's entire family is arrested. His wife and daughter are sent to Ravensbrück. His son is sent to Buchenwald. August 8, 1944. Hoepner is 57 years old. Freisler sentences him to death. The execution happens that same day at Plötzensee prison. Hitler's instructions are specific. He wants them hung like cattle. The guards use a meat hook. They use thin hemp rope. The camera records the execution site. The death struggle lasts 20 minutes. A general who commanded hundreds of thousands dies in a cold room. He is strangled slowly. The regime he built destroyed him. His military record meant nothing. Saving his soldiers was his final crime. The story ends in a dark cell.